Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Maddrey, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
And I'm Valerie Comer.
We've got Toni Shiloh back with us today. Yay, Toni!
Yay.
Woohoo!
In case you missed Toni's previous episode, we will still go ahead and give you her bio. Toni Shiloh is a wife, mom, and Christian fiction writer. Once she understood the powerful saving grace thanks to the love of Christ, she was moved to honor her Savior. She writes to bring him glory and to learn more about his goodness. She spends her days hanging out with her husband and their two boys. She's a member of the ACFW, and you can find out more about her and her books on her website, which is tonishiloh.com. Thank you, Toni, for coming back to hang out with us again.
My pleasure.
All right, I'm excited about today because today is Tricky Tropes. Tricky Tropes with Toni. Say it 3 times. So, these are kind of fun tropes that I actually really enjoy, which maybe says something about me that I should explore further. I don't know, but tricky tropes are things like fake relationships and secret babies. Secret babies get such a bad rap, but they're fun. But what makes them tricky, I think, is that they seem to require some unchristlike behavior from your characters, either in the past or for the duration of the book, depending on what's going on. And so I mentioned 2, right? Fake relationships and secret babies. But what are some other tricky tropes that you think we ought to talk about today? Narelle, do you have a tricky trope that you?
Well, in terms of, contemporary Christian romance, I think marriage of convenience is also another tricky trope, depending on how it's set up. So, because that can also be a fake relationship.
Sure.
And it reminds me of that silly Married at First Sight TV reality show where people stand there and they look at their spouse, and that's the first time they've ever laid eyes on each other, and they're standing there reading vows to someone they've never laid eyes on before. And so marriage of convenience can kind of be a bit like that as well, depending on how it's set up. So I'd add that as a potential tricky trope.
For sure. Toni, what about you? What would you add?
I would add disguise.
Ooh.
Oh, because that usually straight up involves lying. Like, you're not saying who you really are.
Yeah. Like mistaken identity or secret identity kind of. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
For sure. I didn't even think about that trope, but you're absolutely right.
That is a really tricky one, I think.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of those. I didn't think about it before, so I didn't write it in my notes. But yeah, the whole time you're like, how can you keep lying about who you are?
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
All right, Valerie, what?
The one that I thought of, I actually opened up several tabs yesterday looking at various tropes like, oh, that's legit. One that popped out was the former rake, somebody who's been very sexually exploitive in the past. And heartbreaker, and is now apparently, a whole different person than they used to be. And I think that one still can really work. And same with the secret baby, because you can kind of brush that all as into the past. And now we have repented and now we're a new person. Whereas the fake relationship is usually like for the duration of this story. And I think that makes it a particularly tricky one.
Tricky. Yeah.
It's a good
for
word.
sure. Okay, cool. So yeah, we've got some more. So go ahead and add those in if you can on the fly think of books that you want to talk about with those tricky tropes too. Feel free to, because they weren't in our notes, but we're going to still, they're fair game. So just because we've got tricky tropes doesn't mean that we shouldn't tackle them as writers, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't enjoy them as a reader. So I think a lot of these tropes can be made to work in a Christian setting, depending on how it's handled, right? I mean, I guess that's kind of true for everything in life, right? But so what is a tricky trope that sorry, my brain. We're going to talk about books. And so you're going to tell us a book and what the tricky trope that it covers is, and how you think that it handles and navigates the trope, and if it makes it work for you. So we're going to start with Toni.
Ooh, okay. So Disguise, the first one I thought of is Claim My Heart by Michael Dawn. So it's actually part of the box set Once Upon a Christmas. So it's a retelling of Mulan. So
Sure.
you have the whole fake identity. And why I think it worked so much is she addresses the issue of lying. So you get to deal with the behavior during the book and why it's wrong and why she should repent. So plus, it's Milan, so I think that's probably why I was okay with it.
Sure.
Who was that again?
Michael Dawn, it's Claim My Heart.
What's the box it's in?
The box set is Once Upon a Christmas.
Okay. Is that still live?
It
currently?
is.
It is. Okay.
Didn't Lewin do one similar to that, a Mulan? See, I should have done my homework more deeply.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Mm.
Did she?
But there
Okay.
was a box set this maybe 2 years ago now.
I don't remember it. I haven't gotten all the way through that box set, so I didn't get to Michael's. Is her name Michael?
Yes.
Okay. I see it because she spells it Mikal, and so I always in my head I say Mikal first, and I'm like, no, I think it's Michael.
It's Michael. Yeah.
It's Michael.
Now
Okay.
I know who. I've just worked out who you're talking about. I had no idea. I'm thinking, who's Mikal Dawn? Like, I'm sitting here thinking I've obviously missed something. You all know what you're talking about. Yeah. So now I know Michael Dawn is what I would think of as maybe Mikal Dawn. Yeah. There you go.
I'm not also on the same page.
Okay.
Maybe it was hers and not Lewin. I thought Lewin was in that set too.
I don't think Lewin was in that set because it was you and Michael and JC
Yes.
and
Andrea and Angela.
okay. That's not the one that starts out with Sleeping Beauty. That was last year's.
No, that is Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember the Sleeping Beauty one sticks out in my mind because it was like ballet and Sleeping Beauty, right? Or
It was theater. Yeah.
theater. Okay. Yeah. And I have theater nerd in my history. So theater books are always my ears perk up. Cool. All right. So Disguise, that is a great Milan. I mean, yeah. kind of have to deal with that for sure. Narelle, what about you? What would you
What? In
What's
terms
your
of
book?
books?
Yeah.
Okay, so my book is someone you've never heard of, Marry Me for Real Cowboy by Valerie Comer. So I've recently read this one, so I actually remember the story. But what I really liked about the way Valerie handled the fake relationship is that the characters, their conscience was binging, if that makes sense. They weren't comfortable. And it was logical and plausible. And the first chapter of this book, if you haven't read it, it's amazing. If you read the first chapter, you'll keep reading. Trust me. Make sure you've got time. So we talked about it when in the kissing episode, we talked about this book. But what I really liked about it was the characters really had to wrestle with their faith in the story in terms of the honesty, and her family wasn't on the page. It didn't actually appear in the story, but they're actually living on a ranch with his very complicated family, and they are lying to his family, and he thinks that he has a noble reason for doing it, and then is challenged during the story in terms of the whys and the hows. And these guys, if they had have met somewhere else, they would have had a lovely romance where they could have met, got married, had kids, blah, 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 without a lot going wrong. But
and without a book, because that doesn't make a good book.
It doesn't make a book, but they were really well matched in terms of a couple. And so it's kind of like, I wish they had met and not had to deal with all these problems because they're so sweet together. But anyway, I really enjoyed that book, and I really loved the way the fake relationship was handled and the way it was resolved in the story.
And I don't think it's a spoiler necessarily to say that there were consequences at the end of the story for having gone down that tricky trope path. So not too horrible, but they were pretty bad as far as the characters were concerned. So, and I like when there are consequences. It's the mom in me. It's like if you make a bad choice, Something's got to happen.
But it's also the way the world works. I mean,
Yeah.
people
Yes.
as a rule don't get away with doing the wrong thing without some kind of natural justice happening somewhere down the line. So I kind of think that we expect to see consequences as well. So if there are no consequences, it can be a bit of a letdown in a sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. Yep.
Mm.
All right, Valerie, what'd you choose?
Well, I'm going to turn the tables on Elizabeth Maddrey here. Because we've got 2 tricky tropes in one.
I
Yeah.
like the tricky tropes.
Apparently you do.
I do.
So we've got a fake relationship that turns into a marriage of convenience.
Yeah.
And like all in one story. Get them all.
Yeah.
2 for 1 price break here. So I think the thing that's interesting there is that they do let the people that are very closest to them know that that this is just for show, and that they have really good reasons, but that it's not real, you know, until it is real, and then they have to, well, anyway.
Yeah.
So that was different than the way I handled it in Marry Me for Real, in that they didn't tell anybody, but your characters did feel like they needed to, and both ways make, I think, a really fun story. And there's probably 28,000 other ways that would also make a fun story.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
For sure.
So are we going to share the title of Elizabeth's book?
I did. Hope for
Did
Family.
you? I missed it.
I
Hope
think
for
we
Family.
were laughing. I think everyone was still laughing, and Valerie was just sneaking the title in there while we were laughing.
Because I love that book as well. I'm thinking, I don't remember hearing the title. That's okay. It's Hope for Family. We're all on the same
Family
page.
by Elizabeth Maddrey.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So this is kind of terrible because we're gonna end up like with a whole little mutual admiration society going on here. Because Toni's latest book with Love Inspired. And I always get the title wrong. It's An Unexpected Proposal.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Why? I want it to be unexpected, not unlikely. Sorry.
It's all
Love
right.
Inspired editors. I don't like your title. I want it my way.
It's not unexpected though, because the proposal is in the very first line.
She wasn't expecting it.
Well, that's true.
So, I mean, it was unexpected. An Unlikely Proposal is a marriage of convenience, and super fun again. And they have good reasons, and they're pretty open about the fact that, hey, you know, this is because of all of these reasons, and we are thinking it through. They're not trying to sneak around. Which I think I like better with marriages of convenience, as long as somebody knows the truth, you know, maybe not the whole world. You don't have to publicize it, but like the people close to you, I think it's harder when there's all the lying, because there's so much more lying that has to go on if you're going to keep it from your mom and your dad and these people who know you. But anyway, I really, really liked An Unlikely Proposal by Toni Shiloh.
Unlikely as that might be.
Yes. So, and I loved just the firefighter aspect of it, which is not this show, but I feel like we don't have enough CCR with firefighters in them, or I'm just not finding it. But I loved that you had firefighters, and I really hope that you're going to write more firefighters, because there's like friends in there, whole bunch of stories in there, Toni.
I've had other people mention the friends.
Yeah.
As though you hadn't noticed that you had.
Hint.
Yes.
There
Whereas,
you go.
like, are you writing yet? Hint. Yeah.
Well, we want to know, are you?
Yeah, are you?
I do have a proposal for
Yay.
some friends, so
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
Yay. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're at least moving down the path. I know you've got other deadlines that would have to be met first, but that's exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So everybody has more than one, right? Should we just do another circle? All right, Toni, who's next?
Oh, it's so we didn't say this, but I actually had a love triangle
Ooh.
listed because
Yeah, it's tricky.
it is.
It is
Yeah.
tricky.
Like,
Yeah.
are you leading them both on? Like,
Yeah.
is one the clear choice and the other is just, to make the book longer?
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah.
So I picked Hilary Manton Lodge's Two Blue Doors series.
Okay.
So if you haven't read it, I might have, just spoiled it. But yeah, it's total love triangle. And I remember reading it and having very strong reactions to it.
Mhm.
But at the end, the right guy was chosen. But I liked how it felt realistic the entire time.
Okay.
Because usually I feel like, I don't know how to say this, like the girl just has options and just appears out of nowhere. But these two guys, it made sense.
Okay.
And I was like, no, like, don't do this to me. I don't want it to make sense. Like, I want the clear choice because I already have picked out my person. But, she clears it up and resolves it all in a good way.
Okay. Cool.
I think
I think we established my hatred of love triangles in our handoff episode when we did that back in December with Jessica, Kate, and Hannah. So
that we'll have to do an episode on them sometime.
we did. We should.
And I
Absolutely.
think one of the tricky things about them is that most contemporary romance is written from the hero and heroine's point of view.
Mhm.
And so then you know who it is, right?
Right.
So the
True.
only way to really pull that off as a writer is to either go only from one character, which can be done, but isn't super common in CCR, or to give it to three.
Yeah.
And that
Which is also not usually done.
almost never done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she did the one for the 3 books because it's a 3-book series. So,
Yeah.
Did
You'd
she
almost
just do
have
the
to
heroine?
yes.
leave
Yeah,
people in the
okay.
dark.
All right, Narelle, who's your second?
Well, you're going to love me for this because I'm going to talk about love triangles as well. And
Awesome.
and I didn't mention love triangles earlier because I didn't know if we were going there today. So, but I'll talk about it now.
Yeah.
Brandy Bruce's The Last Summer, and by memory, it was written in the heroine's point of view. And it was 2 girls and 1 guy. So we I actually did it jump into multiple points of view. I can't remember. But this book was really, really good, but it could have gone really, really badly as well. And the consolation, because I was so invested in both of these girls, like I was just so torn as I read this book. It's like, I feel so bad because only one of you can have the guy. You both can't have him, and so someone's going to miss out and someone's going to lose. So there can't be a win-win in this, and I think that's why love triangles are such a tricky trope, because when you get invested in all the characters, you just know someone's going to have their heart broken. And I don't know, sometimes that can be a bit angsty as well to read, and it can be depressing. But Brandy pulled it off with The Last Summer, and then the book that follows, After the Rain, is actually the girl who missed out. It's actually her story where she meets her guy and gets married. So it all has a happy ending. You just have to read 2 books to get to the very satisfying happy ending with both of them married and happy.
As long as they both get there eventually, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Valerie, what's your second?
My second one is Tara Grace Erickson's book, Poppy's Proposal, I think. Fake Marriage. And so that one was interesting. The guy is running for governor. He's young and he needs a wife because otherwise he might not get in,
Yeah.
And she needs some farm protection legislation passed that is not going to happen under the current governor. And so she needs her guy to actually be in a position to make it happen for her and her family. And that's part of it too then, right? It's not just her, it's not just some little thing that she wants for herself, like, like a fancy necklace or something. It's her family's livelihood that's at stake with this.
Sure.
So I think she pulled that off pretty well. It's a marriage of convenience. It starts out kind of as a secret, and then they have to tell because he's running for governor. So that's the reason they did it. So the whole edging into it being public and trying to pretend that it's real when it isn't real, and that there was a lot of angst in that one.
There was.
But I enjoyed it.
So I have a question. Is fake marriage always the same thing as marriage of convenience?
No.
No.
See, I agree. I'm also a no, but Valerie just used them interchangeably. So now I'm wondering. Speak more, Toni.
Why would you have a marriage? How would you have a fake marriage? Why would you bother if it wasn't for some particular reason that is convenient?
But with the marriage of convenience, they actually marry.
Yeah.
There's a marriage, there's a wedding. But with a fake marriage, they don't necessarily have to go through with it.
Okay.
Well, no, what they do with a fake marriage, it's a fake engagement.
Well, I mean, there's nothing to say. Now, it would be super tricky in CCR to pull off fake marriage without a marriage license, because they'd be like living together
Right.
without being married. So like 68% of your readership would be
Slamming the book down.
really angry.
Yeah.
But you could absolutely, if you went sweet clean, you could
Right.
do fake marriage without a marriage license, and they could be basically roommates who tell people they're married for whatever reason, maybe to get like well, but they actually got married. I was going to say, like in the movie Green Card, pushing the green card aspect aside, to get her, if it was just about her getting that apartment, they could have been married, so that she could get the apartment, and then he didn't get anything out of it other than a place to live. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, but you'd have to retitle the movie since the whole thing was about him getting citizenship. But, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think
it's motivation. So I think in terms of the distinction, it all comes back to why. And I think marriage of convenience sort of has a bit of a stereotype around it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas fake relationship, I think, is slightly broader, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you might be able to hone it into being the marriage of convenience that we traditionally think of in terms of, and often we think about that in terms of a financial arrangement or a family arrangement as one distinction, whereas a fake relationship can be a bit broader in terms of the whys behind it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my second one, I think we still have time, was actually I didn't have to do a whole lot of research because I just read Toni's, and I also recently read The Cowboy's Reluctant Bride by Valerie Comer, which actually ends up being unexpected pregnancy, which can be tricky, but it starts out as a baby trap. If you read it, you're like, that girl set out to trap this boy with a baby. And so that's like super tricky trope. And then Valerie sort of probably, it feels like you got in there and you're like, let's shift a little bit. Let's not do baby trap all the way, because everybody's gonna hate her if she's doing a baby trap.
Tricky is really the right word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because well, you know how much I plan my stories, right? So much planning does not go on. But I did have baby trap in the back of my mind for sure, but I knew that it couldn't be just straight up that. Mm-hmm. It had to have more nuance to make it palatable to me as well as to the readers.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and you did a really good job. But I do actually kind of like the aspect of when you finally realize that pregnancy started out as a baby trap, and you're like, oh, it's good that we're this far into the book and I like you, because otherwise I would absolutely despise you. But there's that moment when she sees her mom talking to her uncle, and it's just like, this is where I at least realized that it was going on, and I was like, ooh. So yeah, I had a moment of pointing at my book. Had to point at it. bad person. So I'm not the only one who points at their books, right?
No, you're not.
Okay. Okay. Like, that's not just me.
No, sometimes I have to
Kindle-
set them down and rant for a little bit, like.
Yes.
You can't throw a Kindle across the room. It's too expensive.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Or a little finger shaking. Okay.
Yeah, little finger shaking. Like, you did not just do that. But she did. So all right. So Baby Trap kind of leads us into that next question, which is, do you think that there are tropes that just absolutely you're never gonna make it work in CCR? Does anybody have one?
I do.
Okay, let's have.
Don't hate me, because you
Uh-oh.
already said it was your favorite.
Uh-oh.
Well, not your favorite, but I don't care for Secret Baby. It doesn't matter if it was in their past or it really gets under my skin. I think I could probably think of 2 people I've read that did Secret Baby, and it's partly my fault. I don't read blurbs, so I don't realize it's a Secret Baby until I open it and I'm like, oh, a Secret Baby, tricked me. So then I have to decide, do I finish or do I let it go and not even get into it? But yeah.
Okay. All right. So would you be interested to know that the book I'm currently writing is called So You Have My Secret Baby?
You already told me you were doing Secret Baby,
Okay.
and because it's you, I will read it.
Oh, phew. Okay.
But
Regretted
it rarely
teeth, though.
happens.
It's actually my second Secret Baby. Operation Fireworks is a
Yeah.
Secret Baby too. So
Okay, I read that one.
Yeah. You didn't throw it across the room. So that's
I
good.
didn't.
Yay.
You can go back and do it over.
Right. Yeah. Just start over. Go open it up and then throw it, but not your Kindle. Don't throw the Kindle. Norel's right. They're too expensive. All right. So Secret Baby is iffy. Norel, do you have any that you think that just don't plain don't work?
Secret Baby has to be done the right way, because it depends on how calculating and manipulative the setup is, if that makes sense. So I'll sit on the fence. Sometimes I'm okay, sometimes I'm not okay, and if I don't like it, I will just stop reading. I won't go any further. And
Sure.
Life's too short to read something that you're not interested in. I think we touched on the characters that particularly the heroes that have had a past where they have been more promiscuous and all that kind of thing. I think if there was a hero who had raped someone or sexually assaulted someone or had been sexually harassing people, I think I'd have a real problem with that person being the hero later down the track in a book as well. That would be something that I would struggle with. And also, I don't know, it's kind of like, depends on whether something happens that's a one-off thing or whether it's part of their character, because a leopard doesn't change their spots. So sometimes it can be a bit implausible for someone to have a history of behaving in a certain way and then just with they just magically suddenly, I mean, I know that God works in people's lives and people can obviously change when they become Christians, but sometimes those changes can just be a bit too fast or abrupt or just not motivated in a way that makes me believe that this person really has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't kind of know how to ping that in terms of a genre, but those types of stories, if someone has changed, I like to be able to see maybe the fruits of those change in other areas of their life in a lead up before I'll go along and believe that they're no longer that type of person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Valerie?
I don't know that there's a particular trope that I think can never be used. and the story still fit into Christian romance. I've seen some pretty strange things get handled well.
Sure.
And some pretty simple ones can be sometimes handled what I would consider poorly. So I think, and sometimes it's a matter of combining tropes as well. If, like Secret Baby, yeah, it depends on the reasons and when it happened and how it was approached, what the reasons were then, where in the story it is revealed now. Mm-hmm. So I would say that while it might not be oh, give me all the secret baby. It's my very favorite thing ever. I can see lots of, I've read several stories that I really, really enjoyed with that. And I know I'll enjoy yours, Beth.
Yay.
But, and I've got one coming up too, a little later on this year. But yeah, I don't know that there's anything that can't be redeemed one way or another.
That's kind of where I end up, is I think the trickier the trope, the more you need to make sure that you are going for the grace and redemption, and the, not showing that whatever behavior is leading to the trickiness of the trope is not glorified, but you show the consequences of the choices that got you there. I will say I enjoy secret babies done well, but if it's a secret baby where, it's just malicious and hiding they can be done very badly too. The low hanging fruit with a secret baby, those first instinct ways to handle it, those I probably don't love, because yeah, that's just lying. You go back to, again, malicious lying. And
Right.
really, with any of these tropes, if your whole story is based on some element of badly motivated malicious lying, it probably is not going to fly super well in CCR. Just
Yeah.
a thought.
I really don't like the secret baby where a girl has gone off with a married man to trap him. That's something I really don't like. I think mixing adultery and secret babies is a bit of a problem for me. So that would be one that I would be very hesitant to read. Although that's said, never say never. Someone might write that and write it very well and have characters that are so well motivated and well developed that they can take me along for the ride and I enjoy it. But we'll see.
I would say cheating as a trope is probably never going to fly with me personally.
Yeah.
Because I have a low grace quotient for cheating in general.
Yeah.
I know that it's good that Jesus has more grace than I do when it comes to something like that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't see a lot of, you do see cheating in Sweet. And I've started noticing that they'll put warnings in the blurb, which I appreciate, because I'm like, oh, skipping right over that one because I'm not interested. But that's one of the reasons I read reviews, is because if it's not in the blurb, cheating is always in the reviews because people feel strongly about it. As they should, in my mind. Okay. We probably have hit our time limit as far as tricky tropes, and we could probably do a whole nother episode on tricky tropes down the road if we wanted to. Thank you for joining us again, Toni. We love having you. Remind us where we can find you in your books.
Sure. You can find me on tonishiloh.com. It'll link you to all my social media sites if you want to stalk me or look at my books.
Excellent. Perfect. Then we'll just go ahead and close. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight at Story Chats. If you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.